Hey guys, Druin the Happy Monk here. This is going to be a sort of mini video guide about the new endgame monk spec called Shatter-Palm that uses the Shatter proc on the sword Rimeheart to kill Torment 6 mobs with really low sheet DPS and abuse Exploding Palm. I think it's currently the best available Torment 6 monk spec. It's not quite on par with the other classes, but as you'll see, it's pretty amazingly effective. So I'm just going to kind of run over the gear, the skills, and then showcase a full Torment 6 Rift. So alright, let's get to it. Alright, so this is the gearing and the skills section. So let's go over the gear first, because I think it's the most important to the build. The entire build revolves around this sword, Rimeheart, which has a 10% chance to instantly kill lesser enemies, and in this case lesser means any enemy that is not a boss, a Rift Guardian, a champion pack, or an elite pack, or an elite pack's ads. So it's basically all trash mobs. And what it does is if the mob is frozen, when you hit it, it has a 10% chance multiplied by the proc coefficient of the skill you're using. So for instance, auto attacks, just your basic auto attack has a proc coefficient of 1, so then it has a real 10% chance. If you use a skill with a proc coefficient of 0.5s, then it has a 5% chance to shatter that mob, and that means that the mob goes from 100, from whatever life it's at, to 0. So the concept for the build is you use this sword, you freeze some monsters, you put Exploding Palm on those monsters, and then you attempt to shatter them with Rimeheart. And when they shatter, Exploding Palm blows up, does tons of damage because these are Torment 6 monsters, and you're stacking every single buff to Exploding Palm possible. And then when that mob dies, explodes, kills all the other mobs, they have Exploding Palm, everything dies. So the concept is, even though I have 241k sheet DPS, which is actually way more than you need, I'm still running like emeralds and stuff, even though I have really low sheet DPS, I'll actually kill Torment 6 stuff faster than you would with a normal spec. So Rimeheart is the absolute most required, and I will showcase how to do this with only Rimeheart. The second most important is Frostburns. They are really bugged right now, and the chill effects have a chance to freeze effect on Frostburn isn't working like I believe it's supposed to. Instead, any attack that you make that would have, previous to the elemental change, done physical damage will use the element of your weapon to determine its elemental effect the way that it looks. So it doesn't determine damage or anything, but it determines the elemental effect. Because Rimeheart does cold damage, every attack that you do that used to have chill effect on it, because you have a cold weapon, will proc Frostburns. So in this case, it's Way of the Hunter Fist, Fist of Fury. Even though it's a full holy attack now, all of the components of it are holy, it will proc the freeze. So just your auto attack will proc the freeze on Frostburn. Additionally, the dot from Exploding Palm procs the freeze, and the dot from Way of the Hunter Fist procs the freeze. So as it's ticking, it procs more freezes. Also, Cyclone Strike, even though it's holy, it can proc the freeze. So Frostburn allows you to freeze things really easily, and it essentially keeps monsters permanently frozen. So if we go to the old ruins, I'll show you. Because Exploding Palm's a main hand only skill, it will always use the cold damage from Rimeheart, and you just put Exploding Palm on a monster and you can watch, it'll just sit there frozen for the majority of the time. Put it on this guy, they're both going to be frozen for basically the whole time that they're Exploding Palmed. Get a little Fist of Fury dot on them, and now you get all kinds, it's just constant freeze. So you can see that Frostburns is very good. The spec is doable without Frostburns, but it's significantly worse. The next key item is the Fist of Aztrask. This is why it's a bunch of rare items. So it's the rarest gloves, the rarest sword, and this is the rarest fist weapon. And this just makes your Exploding Palm deal significantly more damage. If you get one, I got this a long time ago before this was a spec. I'd reroll off the dex as opposed to, I think there was life on hit. I'd reroll off the dex because you don't need dex. There's no point. So you can see there's no main stat on my Rimeheart, no main stat on my Frostburns. So this just makes your Exploding Palm deal more damage. You can see I have diamonds socketed in both weapons. That's because you don't care about sheet DPS, critical hit damage doesn't matter. Increased damage to elites makes Exploding Palm deal more damage, and that's really important. Other than that, the rest of the build's kind of, you want, CDR, so you have access to Epiphany and Inner Sanctuary. So I'm running 2-piece Borns with Ring of Royal Grandeur, 2-piece Cap Crim with Ring of Royal Grandeur. So that's a good 10% cooldown on each. Kakegi's, which is almost entirely for the cooldown reduction. There's no real point to the rest of the stats on it, but 8% cooldown in Helm is pretty good. I'll test out on Dariel's later once I get a good one. Cooldown reduction Amulet. This happens to be on resist for me, and the charm is kind of nice. Strong arm bracers are really, really, really good because you can get physical damage, which increases your exploding palm damage, and you can get the Cyclone Strike buff, so that 29% more damage on strong arm. That also increases exploding palm's damage. So that's a double exploding palm damage buff. Ring of Royal Grandeur just to get the set bonuses, and then I use Unity with a second Unity on my Templar. I do that because it makes Torment 6 a lot easier. It's very, very doable without this. You can use, for instance, I have this Stone of Jordan, which is the much better damage option. You get the physical bonus to EP and the additional elite damage. But I like double Unity. It makes it easy. It makes me able to use Inner Sanctuary more effectively. So that's the gear. Oh, then Illusory Boots are really nice. They're not necessary by any means, but walking through Waller is just so great. Then the last item that's actually required for the build to work solo is the Furnace, which is the rarest two-handed weapon. And you'll see why. You can't kill Rift Guardians, really, with this spec without the Furnace. Like, you technically can. You have to drag them through tons and tons and tons of monsters and blow up EP over and over again. But it's really difficult. Whereas with the Furnace, it's super, super easy, as I'll show you. As far as weapon swaps go, it's just the Furnace for Rift Guardian, Stone of Jordan in specific cases. So if there's not enough trash mobs, if like you're really tight on trash mobs, so say there's like 4 trash mobs, 3 trash mobs, and an elite pack, you want to switch to the Stone of Jordan so you make sure that you maximize the damage that those trash mobs are going to do, because you can only kill trash. Rimeheart will not shatter elite adds, so you have to rely on trash to do your damage. Switch Nemesis, obviously, and then double resist amulets for when they are pertinent, or immunity amulets. Alright, as far as skills go, Way of the 100 Fist, Fist of Fury is the highest proc coefficient attack that monks have access to. It has 1.5, 1.26, and 1 on its 3 attacks, respectively, so 1.5, 1.26, 1. That makes it proc Rimeheart 15% AoE, 12.6% AoE, and 10% AoE. So it's the highest possible ability to proc Rimeheart. So it'll shatter mobs the quickest. Dashing Strike, pretty self-explanatory. Cyclone Strike, also pretty self-explanatory. Inner Sanctuary makes you able to tank things, also snares mobs that you Cyclone Strike, and also debuffs them so that your exploding palms deal more damage. Sort of a excellent skill all in all, but you have to have a lot of cooldown reduction. So at 68.7%, it's pretty fun to use. If you're lower than that, in the 50 to 40 range, I'd recommend potentially looking into other EHP options like Serenity Ascension. Exploding Palm is your bread and butter. I like Impending Doom because it gives you a little bit more leeway to get the mobs grouped up correctly in the right position and then shattered. The other option would be Flesh is Weak, makes your EPs do more damage, and Strong Spirit gives you infinite ability to EP, so you can just spam EP on things. I prefer Impending Doom. And then Epiphany Desert Shroud's kind of mandatory. It allows you to tank Torment 6, gives you Infinite Spirit for Exploding Palm and Cyclone Strike, and allows you to teleport in combat. Passives wise, double EHP passive, CDR passive, and Fleet-Footed. Absolutely nothing special. You don't need Exalted Soul because you're not using a Spirit Spender to deal your damage. You're using Fist of Fury. Whew. Alright, hopefully that covered everything, and it should become a lot more explained when you actually watch me use the build. Alright, so let's do a Torment 6 Rift, and we'll see how this goes. So we'll get the timer running so you can see about how long it takes. I won't be at maximum effectiveness because I'm going to try and talk. So trash mobs are super easy. You just lay down EP a couple times, and then boom, the first one shatters, they all insta-die. So these are Torment 6 mobs. This is nice density at least. We'll see how long it takes. You can see lots and lots of mobs, boom, they all die. So the keys here are, you really need to make sure to get EP on enough mobs. It takes forever if you're just trying to shatter a single monster. So even at 3 monsters like this, it takes a long time to get that shatter off. So here we go, here's an elite. So I'm gonna palm 3 mobs, palm 3 trash mobs, and champ packs are pretty easy. They have pretty low HP compared to elites. So proc strong arm, get inner sanctuary up, and now all we gotta do is wait for one of these guys to shatter explode, and they should all die. So my EP wore off, so re-put EP on the 3, rebuff, boom, they all die. Perfect. So that was getting strong arm up is key because that's extra damage. Getting inner sanctuary up is key because that's extra damage. And you only had 3 trash mobs to work with, so you needed all the EP damage you could possibly get. So here I have plenty of trash mobs. So, and you always want to put 1 on the elite ad because the elite ad is going to be doing, going to be killing the elite. So there you go. That was a T6 elite in, I don't know, very short period of time. So as you can see, this is a pretty powerful build, and I'm not having any spirit trouble. I can do 4+ elite packs at the same time as long as I play well. And my gear is not even close to optimized. You can get way better gear than mine. One of the cool things about this build is it doesn't differentiate between mob health types. So there's really big mobs that have really high health pools. You're more than welcome to palm them first because Rimeheart doesn't discriminate. It has a 10% chance to instantly kill no matter how high health the mob is. So funny enough, those rifts that are just absolutely awful that have a bunch of shadows, those rifts are terrible because those shadows take exactly as long to kill as normal, like any other trash. Like mallet lords take as long to kill as those shadow guys. But the shadow rifts always have, they expect you to kill the shadows quickly, so they have density to accommodate that. Turns out that this rift is a pretty bad one so far. The density just hasn't been there. So I'm making sure to have enough EPs up. So that's what happened that's what it looks like when you mess up. So I made a classic mistake of this build, which is I did not put EP on the elites, or on the champions. And without EP on the champions, when 2 of the 3 champions died, the third one did not. And you can see right here, here's sort of like one of the biggest downfalls to this build. If you have just 1 mob that you're trying to kill, it can take a really long time to shatter. I actually wouldn't have done that if I wasn't filming for like explaining how it works. What you do in that case is you just drag the mob with you. It's basically never worth it to spend the time to kill a single mob. There are times when it is, but it's pretty rare. So I can't tell which things are and are not shatterable in this case. So there we go. It worked out. I just put EP on enough stuff. That can get pretty dicey sometimes when you're fighting an elite pack and you don't know which mobs can be shattered, because you'll end up with EP on a bunch of mobs that can't be shattered, and you'll be sitting there auto attacking and nothing will be happening and you won't have any idea what's going on. As you can see, when you get a big enough group like that, it's just super easy. They die so fast because Fist of Fury just hits, a huge area compared to the other spirit generators, and so you basically just get nothing but value for large packs. So one key thing is you do want to try and get your EPs onto the mobs that have higher health values. It makes it far easier. Let's see. So Power Pylon oddly does nothing for this build, but that's fine. We just want the elite. So I'm gonna be relying on the little scorpion there to do my killing. So as you can see, I switched to my Stone of Jordan, which drastically improved the amount of damage I'm doing. So now I'm going to pull this guy because I have no way to kill him otherwise. That single scorpion's probably not enough. I accidentally got a goblin, which is too bad. This spec can totally kill goblins. I know you'd think that it couldn't. It definitely can. It's very difficult because you have to set it up beforehand. So if you accidentally aggro a goblin like I did, you can't kill it. You have to get EP on a couple mobs, then pull them all into the goblin and explode it. The upside is goblins can be frozen. So once you do get it all set up, you should be able to kill the goblin pretty much instantly. Alright, so these guys are going to be... I'm going to need my Stone of Jordan because I only have a couple trash mobs. And then we're going to do this, get them all grouped. And this should be a one-hit kill for the whole pack. It is. Perfect. And I think I have a shielding shrine. I do. So switch back to Unity. So you could see that was 2 elite packs. That took, I don't know, 15 seconds maybe. Something like that. And that just came from really good positioning. This spec is significantly harder to use than a lot of other specs. Right there, by the way, is why I love illusory boots. You can just walk right through mobs that are in doorways. So yeah, it is not the easiest spec in the world because positioning and palm placement are really, really key. They're really paramount to how well the build works. And if you don't have, you know, pretty spot on palm placement, you're gonna have a pretty bad time trying to kill the mobs. Again, I'm gonna switch to SOJ because these guys have really low health, and I'd worry about their ability to kill the elite without SOJ equipped. Switch back to Unity for EHP purposes. Weapon swapping is by no means required. It's something that I happen to enjoy, so you'll see me do it in basically all my videos. Right there, I didn't have palm on the one mob that did shatter, which is pretty unfortunate. So these shadows, these are the ones I was talking about. These are wretched. These shadows are awful. These worms, they're pretty cool because you can shatter them. So like I said, it doesn't care how much life things have. Rimeheart will shatter those big worms, and those big worms have a lot of health and are stationary, which makes it easy to keep them in place. So right there, I could have really benefited by switching to my SOJ. I just wasn't really paying attention to it. Ugh, this is awful. I need more mobs. That's that guy's elite ads. Pulling monsters with, or pulling elites. Oh, here we go. So I should be able to show you this goblin. So you pull mobs on top of it with EP already on them. I didn't quite get it. So I didn't have enough damage. Let's see if I can bring these mobs. Because you should be able to pull... No, I'm not going to be able to. That's close, though. My goodness, this is going so poorly. These are very rough mob types. Okay. If this guy explodes, this guy will die. It's gonna happen, guys. There we go. So again, I wouldn't have done that if this wasn't on video. All right, here we go. Maybe I'll actually be able to kill the goblin this time. This is like prime killing goblin setup. There we go. Super easy, as long as you have a couple mobs and you place your palms correctly. So this is a good example of a rift that's actually easier because of the mob types. So the mob types are, these guys are all pretty small, but there's those really big mob types. Big mob types are just fantastic for this build because they have more health, so your EPs hit harder and you can kill elites more easily. And they're big, so your Fist of Fury will hit them from very far away. My goodness. This is the longest trash pack of my life. My EPs actually wore off. It lasted so long. That was awful. That would be, I guess, the major downside to this build. is that it can take a very long time sometimes, sort of at random. Like it can go really quick. You can get 15-second, 2 elite pack kills, and then you can take, 30, 45 seconds to kill a random pack of trash because you're waiting for a proc to happen, and that's just how RNG goes. All in all, I find it to be okay. Good stuff. Good lag. I find it to be a really enjoyable spec, as well as a very powerful spec. The number of times that you get sort of screwed over by the RNG is pretty low relative to the number of times that you insta kill packs. So I think it's a viable endgame spec. It's not really, at least as far as I know, on the same level as the some of the other top tier specs for other classes. But I mean, I have managed to achieve a 5-minute solo T6 Rift, which I think is pretty good. It was pretty insane density, but yeah. So that's pretty much all there is to the build. There's a lot of questions being asked in a thread on the forums currently about what things to reroll to make the spec work, and there was some discussion about whether or not you should have cold damage on your offhand for the purpose of proccing. Oh, a conduit shrine. You actually can kill things with a conduit shrine. It takes a lot longer. You have very low DPS, so it takes a lot longer to kill things with a conduit shrine, but you can. Yeah, so there was some discussion about whether or not you should roll cold damage on your offhand rather than a socket, which I can understand the argument for, but I do not think you should do that. Cold damage will allow you to freeze via frost burns a little bit more often, but not as much more often as you need to make it efficient. So here you're going to see I'm just going to skip an elite pack. I'm just skipping it completely. There's no way for me to kill that elite pack because there's no trash mobs left on the level, because Conduit did a good job killing them all. And without trash mobs, I'm actually incapable of killing the elite. Here I should be okay. I'm gonna need my SOJ because there's only ghosts, and there's only 3, or yeah, there's only 3 of them or so. There's another ghost, but I don't know where it is. There we go, it didn't matter. It's also important to keep in mind that EP does proc area damage. So if you get enough mobs all grouped up, area damage will instantly kill basically anything. Alright, so Rift Boss. Normally, it would take a very long time to EP everything and get the Rift Boss down. But in this case, I'm actually going to proc this, because it's just a free kill. Oh, it wasn't a free kill. Oh, it was a free kill. I just didn't actually get it. There we go. Okay. So it would take a very long time normally. However, because of the furnace, which I will show you in a second. So one of the things about the furnace is you want to be very careful to have no other mobs in range. Apparently I can't equip it. Okay, so you equip the furnace because it has an internal cooldown, and so you can see that the guy's life here. I'll show you with Exploding Palm. So you'll see single numbers, and then all of a sudden you'll see a really big number pop up. So let's see if we can get it to happen. Apparently not. How much life does he have? I guess it's only hitting for, there you go. So it just hit for 144 million damage. Or 1,000, no, million damage. So Furnace will actually kill this Rift Boss despite the fact that you have no DPS at all. And you get him really low with Furnace. And then once he's really, really low, you switch back to your other setup, pull some mobs into him, and blow him up. 200 million HP is fine. Should be pretty easy. So we're going to go get some trash. We're going to equip our SOJ for extra damage. We're going to come over here. We're going to go EP, 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 buff, Cyclone Strike, and everything should die, including Rift Boss. Boom! Yay, Rift Boss down. So without the Furnace, it's still doable, but you have to drag him through bunches and bunches and bunches of elites. Elite mobs do tons and tons of damage to the Rift Guardian, so it is definitely possible. So that is this build. I will be happy to answer questions if anyone has any. I think it's pretty cool. It has some pretty unique mechanics, and it is actually pretty difficult to play, which I think is pretty cool for a Diablo 3 build. So yeah, if you have any questions, let me know.